You're listening to WKDW Radio 97.5 and KDWRadio.com, broadcasting from the Bishop West Real Estate Mobile Tower right here in Northport, Florida. I've got a very special guest in the house. Amy's in the house from C.A.R.E. Well, go ahead and give a quick intro of yourself and what C.A.R.E. does.
I'm Amy Huddelston. I'm the communications coordinator for the Center for Abuse and Rape Emergencies. We provide victim services to survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and other violent crimes in Charlotte County.
And you guys do a really great job, don't you?
As far as I know, yes.
I knew that was going to be the answer. So that's the first easy one today.
Yeah.
So there is a small delay. So people who are watching on Facebook, I apologize for the small delay, but everything will hopefully catch up as we go through this. We had a small little lightning strike, and it interfered with our software a little bit. But we're back online, and we're going to continue on talking about C.A.R.E. and what they've been up to the last month. Is there anything new happening out there, Amy?
Right now, we're gearing up for our golf tournament we have on September 25th at Riverwood Golf Club. It starts at 8 a.m. Tickets or signups, I should say. Individuals $90 and teams are $360. We have teams left available. We have sponsors left available. We're just getting ready to have a big old nice little golf scramble coming. So all those proceeds go back to survivors in need. We're getting ready for October, Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Lots of fun stuff ahead.
Lots of fun stuff. So I'm just trying to get the camera here a little bit better. So I'll adjust.
The light is so much better.
What's that?
I said I moved forward and the lighting is so much better.
Good,
why didn't I think of this before?
No doubt. It's just slight adjustments as we go through the process here. But, with the golf tournament coming up and everything going on, what happens with the proceeds? Where does that get utilized the most?
Those goes towards our unrestricted funds. So we're funded by state, federal, different types of grants and stuff like that. And per those grants and whatnot, we can only spend that money on specific things. Like we can't spend it on, hey, one of these survivors needs a new tire, or, we need to get their kids clothes for school and stuff like that. So that all of the proceeds from any of our events go towards our unrestricted funds to be able to use how we deem necessary for survivors.
Awesome. We talked about this a little bit the last time, about the funding side of things. And there's some really important things that people need to understand about funding, isn't there? You're muted.
Restricted when it comes to. Oh, you muted me. Did you unmute me?
Yep, you're unmuted now. Go ahead. Sorry.
Our funding, our main sources funding would be the grants and through city, state, federal, FCASB, Department of Children and Families and stuff like that. And with that, we're only allowed to do certain things. So it's very important that we get them, but it's also important that we have additional revenue streams with our donations, our in-kind giving, our reuse stores, all proceeds from our events to be able to help fund all of the things that the grant doesn't cover.
And we kind of missed out on opportunity last year with COVID, correct? You couldn't do a lot of this external fundraising that you have done in the past, correct?
Yeah, we moved our C.A.R.E. Ball. We couldn't have it, unfortunately, in January of 2020 this year. Or 2021. We had it in 2020, didn't have it in 2021 because of COVID. So we moved some of our fundraising online for that event, but we're getting ready to actually have it in person come 2022. We weren't able to do nearly as many of the events as we did last year. We just kind of pushed out a little different donation campaigns and stuff like that, made our end of year giving, try to make a splash with that, because not only did we understand that our donations and the people that are giving to us, they're all going through a hard time too. I mean, COVID didn't just affect one person, it affects everybody, and it's still going on right now. So we didn't want to push too much, but this year we've been able to finally go back to in person and have different events and do different trainings and stuff like that to help out.
So with the way things have stepped up, and you're kind of back out in the community again, best you can under the circumstances. Do you feel like the numbers of victims are climbing again? Because we talked about that before, and I hesitate to say climbing again in the sense that a lot of victims had their abusers at home, so things were a little different. Now that people are back to work and kind of getting back to normal, do you see the normal trends that you were seeing prior to COVID?
I mean, we didn't really see that much of a decline during COVID. We saw maybe the hotline go down a little bit because people were more scared to call, but we're seeing the same kind of numbers as we always did, if not more, because more people are getting out there and they're encouraged to speak up. They're seeing different people, come forward and talk about their experiences, which helps them make them want to come forward more. They're seeing other people do it, so it gives them encouragement to do that themselves. So we're seeing a little bit of increase. I mean, our shelter's always full. There's no day that I've worked that the shelter isn't full. So other than that, like, yes and no. I mean, nobody really wants to be like, oh, yay, the numbers are up. That's not necessarily a good sign for us. So
right. Well, it's nothing.
The trend is this.
It's nothing that you celebrate by any chance. But when you guys are working, unfortunately, everybody else looks at production. You guys kind of have to look at the negative side of things to get a positive outcome, correct?
Yes, and I'm not really sure where you're asking. We have to look at what's going on, where our efforts need to be put towards. Do we need to do more prevention here? Do we need to, put more stickers in bathrooms? Do we need, what else do we need to do to get our services available to people? We're working on doing different outreach programs. I mean, domestic violence awareness is coming up. So we're getting in the nail salons. We're working with Perfectly Polished, and we're doing the Put the Nail in It campaign again, where if anybody goes there for the month of October and gets purple on their nails, their toes, they're going to donate $5 to us. We're working on drafting, different outreach materials with the tear-offs in the bathrooms, and possibly getting some stickers so we can put them in different schools. We can put them in restaurants. We can, just a little something basic that they can take with them to be able to know they're not alone and someone is here for them. And if we can't figure it out, somebody else can.
Well, and you just went down a list of things, and I know that we're still talking a little bit about 2020 really when I asked this question, but it does have traction on what happens today. Is that even though we lost a year in there, or lost a good bit of time, a lot of the things that you do in the community to get the word out, to get education out, to get the hotline number out, those are all things that are places where there's social gathering and different spots like that. And you have a lot of really good support from the community in assisting in that regard. And I don't want to say it hurt you, because the information, you guys do a great job getting that information out. But COVID had to kind of put you guys in a different mindset because you couldn't use those external partners, great partners that you have during that time frame. So things had to change inside the office, didn't it?
Yeah, we kind of moved everything to virtual. We saw the trend coming with Zoom and different, Microsoft Teams and stuff like that. So we kind of moved what we were doing out in public with tabling events and whatnot, and being able to do outreach and do the prevention and stuff like that. We kind of moved it online. We went to hosting trainings via Zoom, doing presentations via Zoom. We did some of our presentation where we went to Boys and Girls Club and, another Compass and stuff like that. We did try to host some of those with Zoom, but at the same time, not everybody was going because some people kept their kids home. Some people, when it comes to like events and stuff like that, obviously people weren't going out for a while. So that tabling event we would do every time this event came around was unfortunately canceled. So now we're just, if there's an in-person event that we want to be at, we're trying to get in there and work with different stuff. I know come January, we have a big human trafficking awareness seminar that's coming up that we're going to have lots of different nonprofits at. So.
And the reason I went there is that you have now something in your arsenal that you didn't have prior to COVID. And I know that you're still going to use those tools now. And I'm going to ask, just because it's a total different adventure today than it was a year and a half, 2 years ago, when it comes to trying to reach people. I believe that you've done just what we've done in the real estate industry and also the radio industry. We're now on YouTube. We're doing our things on Facebook Live. It's more attentive now to the public. Information is easier to get out now because the public is actually grasping at the new kind of media source that's out there. Do you find that's going to enhance what you're doing on top of going back and doing the meet and greet, the face-to-face, the personal trainings? Do you think that's going to enhance that?
I do. I think, technology is something that is here to stay. It's not like once now that you can host your big event in person doesn't mean you're not going to stream it online as well. So I feel like it's going to be a definite addition and a plus for us when it comes to different events and different things that we do. I know, like, for the C.A.R.E ball, we'll probably go live on Instagram. We'll make a video for YouTube type thing. And that'll just be easier in our arsenal. I know that's with some of our like print material for our events, putting that QR code on something that just takes you to the website. That's going to be on some of our stickers when we get those rolling out here, hopefully in the next couple of weeks and stuff like that, where it's just easy, where instead of handing somebody like a trifold brochure, you can just hand them a business card that has that little code on it. They scan it and they go to right where they need everything at. So it's different. You're kind of like always learning with technology because some stuff works one day or there's an update on it this day. And, then seeing where it goes. I know that we're getting a little bit of traction on our TikTok channel as well, for the younger kids and whatnot. So it's kind of like you see what works for what area, and it's all beneficial. Technology, knock on wood, has been good for us so far.
Right. And I bring that up for a lot of good reasons. And you just kind of hit it out of the park with your answer. But the fact that you guys are adapting to try to get this information out, I have to believe that you're going to attract more people in, whether it's just through the side of education. Be aware of your surroundings, be aware of what's out there. That's going to be a huge ordeal for human trafficking, because we're one of the largest states as far as human trafficking goes, correct?
In the country.
Yeah. I mean, I did a show on human trafficking probably 2 years ago, roughly now, maybe a year and a half. And I don't know that people truly are grasping what's really in their neck of the woods, so to speak. It's happening every day. And there's just a lot going on, do you want to talk just a little bit about that and really throw some information out there for people?
So we number one, our hotline, which is 941-637-0404. That's our hotline for our sexual assault. We always try to help victims of human trafficking. It is something that no one really thinks about. You're right. When it comes to that, we're in Florida is the number 3 in the entire country. We're a hotbed, and we're kind of the in-between area because we're in Charlotte County, but we're only an hour away from Tampa, which is a huge deal. Like the Super Bowl happened, and that was their campaign this year was, make sure that people aren't getting trafficked type thing for the holiday and for the, big event. I know we're 3 hours away from Miami, 3 hours away from Orlando, and these are big areas where you see a lot of people coming and trafficked and whatnot. I know that we've definitely helped victims of human trafficking, and it's more like not necessarily like a shelter stay or something like that. It's more of like a provide resources to help them get out of that situation, because you're a victim of human trafficking and you may not necessarily even think of it that way. It's just, this is what I need to do to survive right now because I don't have anybody that's feeding me. I don't have anywhere to stay. This person's taking care of me and, X, Y, Z, and that all goes into it. I mean, there's signs of human trafficking people don't even think of, like having multiple different credit cards when you go to pay for a hotel room, or having like burner phones, those little flip phones. You see young woman or young man that has a flip phone. Most of us have a smartphone. Most of us have that. You see, somebody being like not necessarily aggressive, but, oh, you can't wear this, or you can't talk like this, or, oh, you have to be here at a certain time. Like some of those controlling tactics and stuff like that, different, people, there's branding and whatnot with tattoos or certain clothing or stuff like that. So it happens here. It's just something that people don't actually want to talk about here.
And you kind of hit on something where we talked about technology, and you just brought up the cell phone. I actually I didn't even realize it. On the new phones, I put it in a holder, and both of the buttons were pushed down. And the next thing I know, I was getting a phone call from 911, and I had no clue why. My wife actually had to clue me in on that. So I'm wondering if people actually, because I didn't. I've had a cell phone for years, and I didn't know it did that. But I think people need to be educated on the 911 side of things on their cell phone. It's just not 911. If you depress the 2 side buttons on an iPhone, it's going to actually do a countdown to call 911. And if you don't respond to that, it automatically dials it, and there's somebody on the other end, which I think is really cool. Because in human trafficking, the first thing you want to do is get somebody's attention, correct? Hang in, hold on. Murray, unmute her.
Victim.
Go ahead.
Oh. Go ahead. Am I good?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. I'm noticing I'm like going on and off mute, so it's like I have to wait to talk. I don't know. When it comes to a victim of human trafficking, the first thing is you want to get them to safety. Like number one, either call 911, call somebody. And with the 911, I just actually took a webinar last week where it was about like how a 911 dispatcher answers the phone and subtle clues, like the whole trying to order a pizza or something like that, or knowing what to say, knowing what questions to ask and whatnot. I'm sure in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be doing a training for our hotline advocates of how to respond and how to talk to people like that. Because yes, we get it here, but we don't have like a lot of it here, I guess, to say. Like, I mean, as far as I know, because I don't actually directly work with clients and all of that. So those are my hotline colleagues and they do all of that. But I know what happens here. And the main thing is we want them to get to safety. That's the first thing. They call our hotline, they say XYZ, whatever's happened. First thing we're going to do is try to make a safety plan. Are they in a safe area where they can contact us? Is there a way that they can get to a safe place? What can we do to help them? You know, like, do they need assistance in moving? Do they need assistance with finding a job? Do they need assistance with housing? Like, are they going to need shelter? Stuff like that. It's a risk assessment and making sure that they're safe. That's the number one priority. So.
While she's got this up here, I kind of want to go over this call list, because we talk about CARE and we talk about rape and prevention a lot, but roll the numbers back up, the additional resources, because you guys are really a resource center for a lot of different things, correct?
Yeah. As you can see on our additional resources page, I've made sure to provide stuff for virtually everybody that I can think of. I know that there's more and stuff out there, but when it comes to victims of sexual assault and domestic violence, like the first, right there, the National Suicide Prevention Line, like, people do go down that dark, scary path, and that could be a thing. I know that, like, it's either August or September, Suicide Awareness Month, like making sure that people are aware that they're not alone, somebody's here for you. We have LGBTQ plus resources. I got to change that. I got to put a plus on the end of it. I know that we also do elder abuse here. We go to different nursing homes. We go to the Ocean meetings every month and talk about it, because you wouldn't think an elderly person's going to be abused, but yet 90% of the time or something like that, some astronomical number, it's from either a close friend, a family member, or a caregiver that's abusing them because they have dementia, or they're not getting it, or they just can, or they're abusing them financially. I mean, how many stories have you read in the paper in the last couple of months where it's, oh, this caregiver, embezzled $30-something thousand from this lady because she was sick and dying, or something like that. I mean, that's elder abuse.
Right.
So we try to have resources for everyone. I know our series that we do for Caring Conversations, we transitioning in it to CARE Speaks, and our next episode is going to be on sexual assault in men and the stigma that surrounds that. I know that we're working on a luncheon for that as well in the next year, trying to kind of break down the walls and that stigma of men can't be sexually assaulted, or they, stuff like that. Like, it happens to, doesn't matter what color you are, race you are, what ethnic background you have, whether you're male, female, trans, anything like that. Everyone could potentially be a victim of sexual assault sometime in their lifetime. I mean, national statistics, it's 1 in 4 women and 1 in 6 men that will be sexually assaulted or raped in their lifetime. Like, and those numbers haven't gone down, regardless of how many national networks we have, how many local resources that we have, like centers like mine. Those numbers keep getting worse over the years. And, only out of all rapes that happen, only about 20% of them are actually reported, which is horrible. So right now we're in the whole, more and more people are coming forward because more and more people are comfortable speaking out about it. We're talking about healthy relationships, red flags, signs and stuff to look out for when you're in a relationship. And it's different. For our prevention model, it's teaching teens and youth about what boundaries are, what healthy relationships look like in a technology world, what, consent is, and knowing what to do in those situations, because these teenagers are going to be the future of our lives. So we're really focused on prevention and getting it to there. And then if we do have older clientele, because we mainly service 18 and up here at CARE for our clients, teaching them about healthy relationships, that it's never your fault that abuse happened to you. We start by believing you, and we work on a plan to not only keep you safe, but create healthier relationships in your future and set you up for success. Like, on the website, we provide help, healing, and hope to survivors in Charlotte County. So.
And I'm going to ask this question because you talked a little bit about men in the front of the conversation. Do you see a difference when a man comes forward versus a woman? Do you see a difference there, or do they really act kind of the same when they're going through an abusive situation?
I mean, I personally don't have relationships with clients, so I can't necessarily speak to the fact of that, like the accuracy of it. But I do know from the research that I've done and from, discussing and trainings with my colleagues and stuff like that, men don't come forward nearly as often as women. I mean, you'll have a woman that's like, her friends are boosting her up, like, no, we're going to get this guy. Like, let's go to the hospital. We're going to take him down. He can't do this and get away with it. But then you'll have a man that you'll show up to a hospital response for that is absolutely horrified, doesn't understand what happened to their body because they didn't want this to happen, but their body reacted a certain way, and the stigma and the confusion and all of that stuff. So you see out of, every 10 women that come forward, you see maybe one man that came forward that happened to because of the stigma and all of that surrounding it. It's like such shameful thing for a man to come forward. So we do see the difference and we do notice it, but we want men to know that they can be victims too, that we do support them. We do offer services specifically to them. We have male advocates that will talk with them and stuff like that. We will have, people that show up to the hospital if that, God forbid that be the case. But, we do work with men.
Well, and
Even though you wouldn't think.
I bring that up because 10, 15 years ago, the guys didn't come forward at all, and you were struggling to get women to come forward. Data supported that, but because organizations like yours and others are out there, and the voices are now not just being heard, but they're being supported and heard. Do you find that, and education through this process is key? And I know that you guys focus on the younger generation, which in the real world, that you have to start there, because they just spread information at a much quicker pace than the older generation. Sorry, I'm in the older generation, so I can go there. But do you find that to be the case when you're talking to the younger generation and their response is just a little different than the older generation?
Yeah, the responses is definitely different, because I feel with the younger generation, the whole woke thing, or the culture that's going on right now, is I feel like the younger generation is more receptive to change and changing the societal norms that have gone on for years, where men don't report, the stigma of putting men down and stuff like that if they're sexually assaulted, or calling them, being homophobic about it, or saying like just derogatory things. I feel like the younger generation is more inclined to speak up and say something versus someone that grew up, in the older generation, or my generation, or your generation, where it wasn't a thing. You weren't talked about because you were looked at as less of a man. It's not necessarily like that for the younger kids, because I feel like they want to change society altogether on, that whole ball, can of worms that we won't get into. But, they really see that they are the future and they are the way to change. So they're more receptive.
And there's nothing wrong with it, because even the younger generation is really supportive of even maybe an older family member and an older friend that is going through it, correct? You see that all the time.
Yeah, we kind of see, I mean, I don't necessarily know. I don't have teenagers at home. I have nieces and a nephew, but I know that for me growing up, I would look towards my parents and, my aunts and uncles and stuff like that for advice and for, relationships and stuff like that. Oh, this is how they do it. This is how it's supposed to go. And I feel like the younger generation is like, I'm going to make better choices. Yes, we may have a good example at home. Maybe we don't have a good example at home. I'm going to take what I'm learning here in this situation and put it towards my own life in my own way. Because a lot of kids these days, I feel like they're either coming from like a really good background or it's like really crappy and there's no in the middle of it.
So you're back out. You're trying to educate now. Are we back into the school systems yet?
Yes, we currently are. I believe we might be on a little bit of break because school just started and whatnot. But I knew that we would over the summer we were doing Boys and Girls Club. We were going back to the after school programs there. I know we've had a little bit of transition with our staffing and whatnot. So we're getting back on it and doing our youth groups and our different girls groups around the community and whatnot. And we're trying to get into schools as hard as we can, but we know how that goes with the school system, and kids are there to learn. And considering COVID just happened, like they were all out for a while, so school time needs to be like learning time. So hopefully here in the next year or 2 years, we might be able to do like presentations to classes and whatnot. But right now it's a little tricky with COVID in general and, finding the space to be able to do that.
Do you find that because COVID happened and now you're back out, you've got great partners in the community, and I don't want to use the word excited. Okay, that it's kind of the wrong word, but are they feeling more positive that now that things are slowing down a little bit with COVID and you are back out, they're wrapping their arms back around you and trying to do whatever they can to get the information out?
Yes, we've had a lot of our community partners be overzealous with, what do you need? What can I help you with? What are your events going on? How can we help promote you? We've had such great support from the community. I mean, we're getting ready for DV Awareness Month, and last year it was, what are we going to do? How are we going to make this work? To this year, we have events going on almost every week. We have different we have like a lunch and learn coming up. We have a comedy night coming up. We have so many different things, working with different community partners, and they're really supportive and, ready to help out as much as they can, because 2020 was a crappy year for all of us. And we're just kind of like taking it day by day because COVID still is around and we're still dealing with all of that. So it's just kind of, when we can do something, we have a really good support team for it. But we're always looking for more. So if you're interested in helping sponsor us for any of our stuff, I even have the flyer right here. Our C.A.R.E ball.
C.A.R.E ball coming up.
There we go.
So if they want to
C.A.R.E
sponsor,
ball.
how can they get a hold of you?
Oh, you can just go back to our brand new website, because it's right there on our first page. You hit the little home button and you scroll down and it's right there, and they can just click. They can buy tickets. They can be a sponsor. The home button. Go to home.
Over to the left.
Home events. It's on both of them. And just scroll down. There we go.
Under the big top.
The tickets and sponsorship and all the information about all of it's right there. I mean, it's a big event coming up that helps fund everything. So we're excited to go back into person for that. I know a lot of people are looking forward to getting all dressed up and having a night out with great food and stuff. So,
well, the events that you have coming up, they can actually find that information on your website also, can't they?
Yes, our website, if you go to the very top right-hand corner, there's a little tab that says events, and you'll see everything that's coming up. We have I haven't gotten the Domestic Violence Awareness Month events on there quite yet because we're still waiting on collateral from a couple of the vendors, but we have our golfer scramble, and then we have the 8 miles, 8 bars, which is coming up November 6th. If you click the information there, it'll take you to the Facebook page for that event. That event is put on by 2 beautiful, lovely ladies who have been sponsoring us for the last couple of years. And basically, you walk 8 miles and you go to 8 different bars. There's lunch, there's raffles. It is a fun time, and all the proceeds from that event go back to C.A.R.E. And they do that. Like, it's not even our event. We just, help them put it on the website so people can know about it. But they throw this event and they do it all themselves, and they give back to C.A.R.E. So it's pretty amazing on them. Dana and Lori are the best. We love them. Can't wait for 8 miles, 8 bars. Come out. I will be there along with my handy dandy Brooke, my colleague over here. We're going to be selling raffle tickets and, supporting the ladies with whatever they need during the day. So we have a lot coming up.
Go ahead.
Oh no, we just have a lot coming up. Like, I'm excited. It's this time of year. I'm glad to be in person, because last year it's like, oh, it's holiday season, or, like, these are our big months, and we couldn't go out and do what we used to do. So this year it's very nice to be able to be in person.
Very true.
God willing, everything works out.
Well, you've got a lot happening. You've got a lot going on, and the fact that you're really trying to get this information out into the community. I'm positive that the people in the community truly understand when they see your brochures or your stickers. The really most important thing that I want to kind of finish with, though, is if you run into a victim, what's the first thing you should do?
Is start by believing. You should never question anybody, whether they're telling you the truth or not. From my personal experience and as working in this job as long as that I have, people aren't gonna lie about getting abused. There is less than 2% of the people that do it maliciously that do lie about it. You need to start by believing. Offer support. I'm here for you. I understand that this is a horrible time for you. Offer them community support. Give them our phone number. Live advocates are here 24/7. First thing, they're not alone in this. C.A.R.E. is always here for you 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. There's a live advocate to answer the phone, to just, you just want to talk about it. You don't have to necessarily, say you're a victim of sexual assault. You don't have to report to police officers in order to get our services. That is not a thing whatsoever. Domestic violence, the same thing. You don't have to file a report to have our services. We are here to help you in whatever ways. Our website clearly has the videos on there and what to do and how to talk to people and whatnot, because it's really hard for a victim to come forward. I mean, it takes bravery like no other to be able to leave that toxic situation. It's actually my social media today that I posted, which is crazy, but it takes a lot of strength and bravery to be able to say this isn't for me anymore, or to seek help after being assaulted or something like that. So we want to just build them up, and we believe you. We're here for you. We're here to help you in whatever way that we can to help you get through this trauma, because when you do, trauma should never be done alone. Support is the number one way to heal.
And I'm going to go there for a second in the fact that when you talk about the bravery side of things, it's not always the first time that they come out and they're brave enough to go get help, is it?
No. So statistically, it takes a victim of domestic violence 7 times to actually leave for good. The cycle is never ending. We have seen it here with clients where they come here and they call and I need somewhere to go. My husband or my boyfriend or whatever, they just beat me. I don't have anywhere that's safe to go. I need a place for me and my child. And then throughout the next couple of days, we help file the paperwork for order of protection. We do all of that. And they end up, well, it's easier for me to go back to my situation than it is to leave. I can't do this anymore. We'll see somebody come back, or we'll see somebody repeat call. It happens. It is really hard to leave. And sometimes it's not even the safest of options to leave. That's why when you call our hotline number or helpline, we help safety plan and assess the situation, because sometimes it isn't always the easiest way to do is to leave. It is an option. We help you with different things that could help you in that way. Sometimes it takes time. It's not like an instant thing that you can just wake up one day and be like, I'm out of here. Sometimes it takes planning and, different measures and different community resources to help make that process happen. So.
Well, and I want to go back to the number that you said, because I actually think it's a shocking number. When you say statistically 7 times, isn't that a more valuable piece of paper to a support system, or a number? Because I think a lot of people think, I'm here, I'm helping, let's go. It's your first time. Let's get it done. And the realization that number could be 7, because they always have that tendency of going back. I think people need to be ready for that on the support side, because it may not be the first or second or third attempt to get them some external support, and they need to be ready for the long haul, don't they?
Especially when it comes to friends and family, because there's a lot of victim blaming when it comes to that. Like, oh, why didn't she just leave, after the first time he hit her, or the first time she hit him, why didn't they just leave? It's not that easy. Getting emotionally abused is degrading. And when you have literally been abused for a long time, whether it's physical or emotional, your self-worth is down at an all-time low. And you don't think you can leave, or you don't think that you have enough power to be able to get out there on your own. Sometimes there's financial abuse involved as well. And you literally don't have the money to be able to leave the situation. So when it comes to friends and family, people get frustrated because they're like, oh, well, we just went through all this. You decided to go back. I'm not going to help you anymore. It takes a lot in order for that survivor to actually get up and leave. I mean, you have to try to have empathy for them in that way of, yes, it's really hard and it sucks that they went back, but maybe that was the best option in that moment, and still continue to be there for them if they decide to leave again, or if they decide to go back. Sometimes that's what just happens. And I notice a lot of friends and family get very frustrated about it, when I feel like maybe they should be more empathetic and sympathetic for people when those times happen, because it's a horrible situation to be in, period. But sometimes it's safer to the victim to slowly get out rather than just all of a sudden leave, because when a victim leaves, that is the worst time ever for them. That is the most dangerous, scary situation, because that's when people get shot. That's when people get stabbed. That's when people, children get kidnapped. That first time of really leaving and packing all your stuff and doing all that, that first couple of days is the most scary time for a survivor, because that's when the most violence can happen.
Well, wouldn't you consider that there's two types of life-changing events happening for that person, the victim? The first life-changing event is realizing I'm getting abused. The second side of it is, oh my gosh, my whole life is going to be turned upside down. What do I do now? So there's not just panic on one side of that, of, oh my gosh, I'm getting abused, but isn't there another panic that they're going through on the other side of what's next? How do I do this?
I mean, most of the time, victims know that they're getting abused. Like, they know, they just don't know what the steps to do to get out. But yes, that is the very scary part of the whole process. And that's why a lot of people have the tendency to go back or stay in the situation, because the fear of your entire life starts over. Like, at C.A.R.E, we've helped people, they call us on a Tuesday and they're in a different state by Friday because they packed everything up and they moved and they went to go live with their, family member that lives across country or something like that. So it is the fear of starting your whole life over. I mean, our whole concept is, you're a victim, you call us, we give you emergency shelter for you and your family. Then we're going to help you get a new job because you can't go back to your old job because your abuser knows where that's at. We're going to get your kids into a new daycare, depending on the custody situation. We're going to help you with that, finding a new place to live that's in a safe area that you're going to feel okay in, that your abuser doesn't know where they're at. Or we're going to help you get into this family member's house that has the ability to keep you safe, because that's mainly what our job is to help people feel safe in their lives. But it's that whole scary transition of, maybe just that day was bad. Maybe, oh, he's not going to do it again, or she's not going to do it again. But in the reality, like, the fear of them starting their whole lives over, like, could you literally wake up tomorrow and start your entire life over with nothing but the clothes on your back and a bag full of stuff? Like, I know I couldn't. Like, I couldn't just start my whole life over and say goodbye to my friends, my family, and all that stuff and move on. So that's what's really scary for when it comes to clients and stuff like that, because the fear of the unknown. But with our advocates and our counseling and stuff like that, we do help them see the light at the end of the tunnel. Oh, I can't hear you anymore. Oh, you're still muted.
Yeah, that's the support system that's actually out there. I apologize for that. I'm trying to help mediate the little bit of feedback we're getting. There's just a small delay, so I apologize. We had a lightning strike for the listeners out there. We had a lightning strike, and the software, I still don't think is really caught back up to itself here. But we're doing the best we can, and we're getting some really great information out. And as always, we get into these conversations where, I always think, man, we've kind of cleared it all out. I didn't realize the 7 times. I'm still shocked at that number. And I think it's gonna be valuable to somebody out there who has a friend who's going through it, and it may be the first or second time, for that support system to go, oh my gosh, it could be as high as 7 or more. The average is 7. So I've got to be a little more patient. I got to get some extra support. We do have support systems for victims who actually call you guys to get information, correct? To try to get their victim in to see you, correct?
Yes, we do like a DV and an SV support group that, anybody can call and they can come in when we have them, and just to be here and to have the support from another survivor and knowing that you're not alone. I know that we do support group in the shelter when we have clients that are all here with their schedules and stuff like that at the same time. I know that we do provide emergency counseling, and then we do outsource to we have a therapist and stuff like that. That also has support groups and whatnot. If you're interested, you're just clicking the website right now. We can get you in touch with somebody that, or, you'll get in touch with us if you send an email, and we'll be able to help you along the journey.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you being on the show today, Amy. I always think we've learned everything and we're just going to have a conversation. But every time we're on the show together, I learn something new. And it's valuable information for the community. And I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to be on my show. It is an honor to have you on the show. So I appreciate you.
Thanks.
And you guys at C.A.R.E,
It's always a pleasure to be here.
You're very welcome. You guys at C.A.R.E take good care of yourself, no pun intended, and have a great rest of your week. And we will see you next month. Okay.
Alrighty, thank you so much.
This is John Rawlings saying thanks and have a good evening. John Rawlings with 97.5 FM. Have a good night. We'll talk to you soon.